Welcome to Jesus TV. This episode, this part of the movie, um, the movie being Valhalla, Backstage, pound fundamental concepts, principles, practices of Jesus world building. Um, Actually, this isn't a movie per se. When I look at it again, it's a collection. So, yeah, I think it is a movie. It is a movie. All right. I'm going to list it as a movie. So this is improv. Uh, and this part of the movie that I'm now speaking is called, oh, it's the second part. So part two, front stage, backstage, off stage. Valhalla is the place for me to watch Jesus's most meta movies in my Jesus Greg world. All right, so throughout my Jesus Greg world is interspersed what is called meta material, and we'll discuss that briefly here in this movie. Um, but the principal place um, for meta material within my Jesus Greg world is a place called Valhalla. And that actually refers to a building um, not far from here in my Jesus Greg world. So to refresh your mind, um, there's venues. So my Jesus Greg world is organized by venues or places. Um, and you can go Google Memory Palace technology or Memory Palace YouTube, watch some YouTubes to understand what that would mean um, to travel to different venues, to different places. In my mind, my heart, but also, I like that a lot of these places within my Jesus Greg world are actual physical places, which that helps when you're building a memory palace, or in this case, a memory temple. Um, so, in my Jesus Greg world, there's a location that I go. It's called Valhalla, and when I go there, that's where I find movies like this one. And once again, I'm going to give you the title, and then we'll kind of dive in. This is improv. So Jesus is doing this more and more often, is we just go improv rather than a prepared script. Front stage, the title of this part two. Front stage, backstage, off stage. Valhalla is the place for me to watch Jesus's most meta movies in my Jesus Greg world. All right, so first we'll describe what meta is. And I pulled that up right here. Meta definition of a creative work referring to itself or to the conventions of its genre, self referential. Quote, the enterprise is inherently meta since it doesn't review movies, for example, it reviews the reviewers who review movies. End quote. What does it mean to say meta? Pertaining to or noting a story, conversation, character, etc., that consciously references or comments upon its own subject or features, often in the form of parody. A movie about making a movie is just so meta, especially when the actors criticize the acting. So you make a movie, then you criticize the movie. You're moving into meta. What does the name meta mean? Meta is the original and standout name for girls. It has multiple sources across the globe. The main origin being German, where it means pearl. As a little, oh, so that's just a different name, different use. Sorry. Okay, that's what you get. We'll end with this meta definition from Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Uh, Meta, adjective, informal, showing or suggesting an explicit awareness of itself or oneself as a member of its category, clearly self-referential. The meta gift of the year, a picture of a lamp that actually lights up. Um, a new comedy about fantasy football, which follows a group of armchair quarterbacks as they try to tackle life. How meta would it be if people started betting on what was going to happen on the show? Okay, so that concept of meta um, kind of sets the tone for when Jesus sends me a movie to watch and to help make with him. Where does this movie belong? And there's many different places with my Jesus Greg world where it belongs. But a movie like this one, um, I know where that belongs because it's so meta. Um, mm, Another related concept, and I'm not going to disentangle this because there's probably some rough disentangling that could be done, but I won't do it right now. I may do it as a B roll in this movie. But another concept, because the title of this is in part two, front stage, backstage, off stage. Well, what does that mean? Front stage, backstage, off stage. And what does it have to do with meta? Um, and the rest of the title is Valhalla is the place for me to watch Jesus's most meta movies. And so the emphasis is there, like, yeah, you might see some meta movies throughout my Jesus Greg world, and I might see those. But this is the most meta. The flavor of these movies and the orientation is heavily meta, um, self-referential, um, and kind of steps outside of the ongoing action. And that's where Irving Goffman comes in. I was introduced to Irving Goffman, his writings, his ideas, uh, quite early in life, and found them quite fascinating. Um, and this concept in particular is what Jesus is pointing to. And I'll just read here from thoughtco.com Goffman's front stage and backstage behavior. Irving Goffman presented the dramaturgical perspective in the 1959 book, The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life. In it, Goffman uses the metaphor of a theater production to offer a way of understanding human interaction and behavior. He argues that social life is a performance. All right. So, um, this, I'll just pause here to say, that's what, when I got born again in 2015, that's what Jesus um, told me, is that we would be making, using our sacred imaginations, that the world that He is making for me and with me, my Jesus Greg world, would in a large part become a performance, that it would be like a movie, like I'm in a movie. And also like being on a stage, if you will. Okay, it's time for the show. Ready? Do you have the Jesus songs? Do you have these things? Let's go. What are you supposed to say, Greg? Oh, I'm on Jesus TV. Hi, welcome to Jesus TV. That's you performing, Greg. That is me performing the things that God puts in my heart to perform. And so he argues that social life is a performance. So it's a sociological concept he's using, and many sociologists have borrowed from this what's called the dramaturgical perspective or theory, if you will. Um, and that's what we're doing right here. Jesus is doing this. Hi, Irving Goffman. If you're an angel out there watching, and I'm pretty sure you are, thank you for you and Jesus's ideas here. So, Irving argued that social life is a performance carried out by teams of participants in three places: front stage, backstage, and offstage. The dramaturgical um, perspective also emphasizes the importance of setting or context in shaping the performance, the role of a person's appearance in social interaction, and the effect the manner of a person's behavior has on the overall performance. Running through this perspective is a recognition that social interaction is influenced by time and place in which it occurs, as well as by audience present to witness it. It is also determined by the values, norms, beliefs, common cultural practices of the social group or locale where it occurs. Front stage behavior. Okay, here's where we're getting to the nitty gritty of it. Front stage behavior. The world is a stage. The idea that people play different roles throughout their daily lives and display different kinds of behavior depending on where they are and the time of day is a familiar one. Groundhog Day, anyone? Most people consciously or unconsciously behave somewhat differently as their professional selves versus their private or intimate selves. According to Goffman, people engage in front stage behavior when they know that others are watching. Front stage behavior reflects internalized norms, expectations for behavior shaped partly by the setting, the particular role one plays in, and one's physical appearance. How people participate in front stage performance can be highly intentional and purposeful, or it can be habitual or subconscious. Either way, front stage behavior typically follows a routinized and learned social script shaped by cultural norms. And so that's one of the things Jesus has been doing since 2015 is introducing me to a new culture and hence new routinized and learned social scripts. Okay, so Jesus, we're calling this Jesus TV. Am I hearing you right? Hashtag hearing you right. Okay, so then I should act like I'm on TV. Well, I don't have a lot of experience with that, but hey, I watched a lot of TV. Hi, this is like Mr. Rogers. Hey kids, how you doing out there? Hey, spirit beings in the spirit prison. I recently was told Jesus told me that you guys are watching. Millions, maybe two, maybe millions. Huh, but here we go. Waiting in line for something, boarding a bus, or flashing a transit pass and exchanging pleasantries about the weekend with colleagues are all examples of highly routinized and scripted front stage performances. So, like, what should I say to this person? I don't know. Tell them your life story. No, don't do that. Just say, hey, interesting weather we're having. That's better, Greg. What do you do? Hey, have you ever heard of Jesus Worlds? Yeah, ixnay on the worlds, eh? The routines of people's daily lives, traveling to and from work, shopping, dining out, or going to a cultural exhibit or performance, all fall into the category of front stage behavior. So, a lot of what Jesus has been working with me on is that, like, okay, so what do I do, Jesus? Like, in front of others and so forth. The performances people put on with those around them follow familiar rules and expectations. Unless they're swimming a different way, like in the chosen, get used to different familiar rules and expectations. Uh, but you start swimming the other way, that becomes a familiar rule. Where's everybody swimming this way? Well, now we have a new rule: swim the other way. Well, they're not very good at that. Well, that's why you have Jesus to help you know how to swim the other way. People also engage in front stage behavior in less public places, such as among colleagues at work and students in classrooms. Whatever the setting of front stage behavior, People are aware of how others perceive them and what they expect, and this knowledge tells them how to behave. hmm I know what you expect. Yeah, you spirits in spirit prison, you expect me to talk about Jesus because this is Jesus TV, which sets the expectation. Okay, what should I be talking about? Well, I could be talking about a Sharpie, but only if that Sharpie is something I use to write on my shirt and it's not me writing. I'm possessed by a spirit named Jesus who wants to remind me of something. Then Sharpies, which is actually what these were used for recently. Jesus, where's that shirt? Jesus. Oh, we put it in the laundry. Nope. Yeah, we did. Yeah. Well, he had me write things like 15 songs to sing uh, at my handyman job. So I can look down and go, okay, sing that. And hymns, spirituals, equivalents, spiritual approximations, so that I can bear my burdens by having more Jesus, at least in song um, and in spirit. Always remember him, he's there. Um, and that helps me with my arthritic feet move on forward as we remove rocks from a field. All right. Well, there you go. The, the television station sets a setting for me to go, okay, well, I'm on the stage. Better make sure I wear my hat so that you can't see my hair messy. Yes. I've got to look good for those spirits in prison, a few mortals who might watch this. Front stage behavior. Okay, well, what is backstage behavior? Well, that's where we get closer to what Valhalla is about. Like, hey, you're telling us stuff that's not the performance. Greg will soon perform this. Well, hold it. You can do a narration, but you're talking to the closet. No, I'm not. I'm talking to the spirits in spirit prison. Backstage behavior. What we do when no one's looking. Hey, there, I did it. What'd you do? Nothing. That's what I do when no one's looking. And that's what I do when you're looking. You noticed? When people engage in backstage behavior, they are free of the expectations and norms that dictate front stage behavior. Given this, people are often relaxed and comfortable. Oh, yeah, now I can be comfortable. No one's watching. When they get backstage, they let their guard down. I do that on the, I think I do that right now on Jesus TV. Kind of combining front stage and backstage, aren't we? What are you trying to do? Exude some kind of authenticity? I don't know. What's Jesus trying to do? I don't know. I just hashtag hear him, and then I will go and do the things the Lord has commanded, and I will say the things on Jesus TV that I believe, I guess, he wants me to say. Yeah. They let their guard down and be comfortable backstage. They let their guard down, behave in ways that reflect their uninhibited or true selves. Now you're seeing my true self, NSA. They cast off elements of their appearance. Oh, you know what? Taking this hat off. This is how I really look. Take the makeup. Oh, take the makeup off. Yeah, well, don't have time for that. They cast off elements of their appearance required for front stage performance, such as swapping work clothes for casual clothes and lounge wear. Yeah, I'm going to get in something comfortable, which I did. Comfortable for you. We don't want to see Greg's holy undergarments. You don't have to. So I'm still front stage, aren't I? Yeah, because otherwise, eh. They may even change how they speak and comport their bodies or carry themselves. Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm on live, so I need to be more careful. When people are backstage, they often rehearse certain behaviors or interactions and otherwise prepare for upcoming stage performances. Okay, so when I get on Jesus TV, then here's what I'm going to do. I'll be so impressive. I'll maybe chewing gum and make it look like I'm informal. Like this. Don't open your mouth, okay? Like this. kind of have an informal, that tastes good. Should I tell them that it tastes good? The spirits in prison maybe don't have gum. I'm sorry, guys, if you're missing gum. I do know you gnash, and if you want to gnash on some gum, some Jesus gum. Oh, look, that's called extra Jesus gum. You see it? He just told me that. This is all improv. Yeah, extra Jesus gum. You want some extra Jesus? I likely already have some Jesus. You're in spirit prison, but I think Jesus goes, hey, we have a celestial prison. That's how it is down here on earth. But this is where he's trying to get us. A little extra Jesus. That's why you're tuned into Jesus TV. See if you can get a little something extra. Yes, you will. I will. At church, they didn't tell us about front stage, backstage, and offstage behavior. On Jesus TV, it's like going to church, a second church. However, even people's backstage lives tend to involve others, such as housemates, partners, and family members. One may not behave as formally with the individuals than standard front stage behavior dictates, but they may not fully let down their guard either. I let down my guard a lot. Anyways, people's backstage behavior mirrors the way actors behave in the backstage of a theater, the kitchen within a restaurant, or the employees. Hey, did you wash your hands? Wash my hands. We don't wash our hands. Oh, yeah, I guess I should have. Ding. Oh, I just made the customers quesadillas. I didn't wash my hands. So, oh, well, right. Yeah. You saying that backstage? Only when the boss is not around. We're just messing, aren't we? Spit in the food. Behavior mirrors the way actors behave in the backstage of theater, the kitchen within a restaurant, or the employee only areas of retail shops. Oh, hey, there's a customer. Yeah, how's it going? Can we help you? For the most part, how one behaves front stage significantly differs from the individual's backstage conduct. When someone ignores the expectations for front and backstage behaviors, it may lead to confusion, embarrassment, or even controversy. Imagine if a high school principal showed up to school in her bathrobe and slippers, for example, or used profanity while speaking with colleagues and students. You can only do that with family. Drop some J bombs. That's Jesus bombs, F bombs. For good reason, the expectations linked to front stage and backstage behavior influence most folks to work pretty hard to keep these two realms separate and distinct. So they don't really explain there what, do I keep going? Off stage is. Nope, that's why you looked it up over here, Greg. Oh, Jesus had it all prepared. Finally, the offstage region is where individual actors meet the audience members independently of the team performance on the stage. Yeah, let's get a little look at that. Okay, this is just they cover front stage, backstage. I wanted to look up offstage because I had never heard of offstage. Like, man, there should be an offstage. That makes sense. Um, okay, backstage. Where's offstage? Offstage. I'll go to click there. Come on. Oh well, I'm not seeing that. Let's see if it's over here. Offstage. Okay. What is off stage behavior, Goffman? See if we can just pick it up here. Is AI smart enough yet? To be outside the stage involves the inability to gain access to the performance of the team, described as audience. No, that's not it. Oh, no, it is. All right. Goffman's presentation of the self. All right. To be outside the stage, off stage, involves the inability to gain access to the performance of the team, described as an audience segregation, in which specific performances are given to specific audiences, allowing the team to contrive the proper front for demands of each audience. Uh, what does offstage mean, Goffman? He uses the term offstage or outside to mean situations where the actor is or assume their actions are unobserved. All right. A moment would be considered outside. All right. Um, well, I'll have to look up more about that, but I think I kind of get it. It's like, um, yeah, kind of get it. All right. Let's go back to the title. It'll tell me what to say next. The title of this movie, this part, is called Frontstage, Backstage, Offstage. Valhalla is the place for me to watch Jesus's most meta movies in my Jesus Greg world. Okay. So, in many ways, it's a backstage that I can go and discuss with Jesus and with others. Um, the nature of what I'm doing when I'm front stage, when I'm, for instance, when I wake up in the morning, I sing Jesus songs with Jesus. So um, that's the performance, but it's also, relative to everybody else, like you. You didn't see that. Like there was nobody watching. My wife was asleep this morning, and I did it. So in some ways, I'm backstage, but that's front stage right there. It's a performance. It's a practice. So we could see that there wasn't a lot of people, humans watching, but there were angels. So that's where it gets a little confusing when you got angels watching. Like, but I wasn't particularly aware of that. I'm just trying to channel right into Jesus. And so I guess there's the audience of one, and that's the best audience. Jesus, our only joy be thou. Jesus, our only audience be thou, perhaps. I don't know. But introducing those concepts, front stage, backstage, and offstage behavior from Irving Goffman, the intention is for me to take note of what Valhalla and this meta um, movie is about, the nature of it, and it's a place where I can take notes that would be um, uh, well, it would interrupt the performance. It would not be the performance itself. It would be about the performance, about like what am I doing, and so I'll give you, and this will end up this part. Um, some upcoming movies that Jesus is going to have me make. He gave me the title, for instance, Jesus World Fundamental Physics. This is the title of part 10, it looks like. Jesus World Fundamental Physics Approximation. Example 1. Jesus is invisible. Hence, oh, remember, remember, hiring what we are up against trying to believe in and love Jesus more. Okay, well, that's a long title, and I like it. That's a long title, and I like it. Jesus World Fundamental Physics Approximation. So, fundamental physics is, uh, well, let's look it up because I'll give you the definition off of what is fundamental physics. So it's an approximation of what we're doing at Valhalla. Fundamental physics refers to physics at or below the atomic scale. Let's see. A fundamental physics. Um, what is fundamental? Our current definition of uh, fundamental physics. Okay, meaning is it? What is fundamental physics? Fundamental physics refers to physics at or below the atomic level. That's what we did. Um, Physicists believe that everything in the universe is made from a few basic building blocks called fundamental particles. So, um, fundamental physics enables our understanding of the universe and the natural world. Um, what is an example of fundamental physics? The gravitational force is always attractive, that it is. All objects with mass will tend to move toward each other. Um, and so um, their fundamental physics is like the things that are very fundamental or really fundamental in physics, coming down to the nitty gritty. And Fundamental physics researchers study everything from there you go, elementary particles produced in accelerators to large scale structures of the universe. Um, what is the difference between fundamental physics and non fundamental? Let's see if that works. Fundamental quantities equals quantities that are basic quantities like mass, length, time, etc. Okay, well, enough of that. Trying to draw that comparison, and it's valid in my mind. Like, okay, I get it. It's kind of like the meta of how the world interacts, fundamental physics. Um, let's go back to this title: Jesus World Fundamental Physics Approximation. Okay, so that's what Valhalla points to, is the fundamentals, things that you wouldn't hear in conference because they're too fundamental. And what would be one of those, like in LDS conference? Uh, if they talked about this right here, Jesus is invisible, I'd be like, oh, that's a fundamental. That's part of the fundamental physics. Just like, yeah, but they don't talk about that, Greg. Right. It's underlies that. It's something that you can't see. It's like backstage behavior. It's like implied, but not explicitly stated. So this part 10 is Jesus World Fundamental Physics Approximation. So this part 10 is going to start explaining, what do you mean Jesus World Fundamental Physics Approximation? Okay, well, there's fundamental physics, and um, this part of my Jesus world, that is the Valhalla Backstage, um, that's the name of this big movie, Backstage: Fundamental Concepts, Principles, and Practices of Jesus Worlds. This movie, part 10, illustrates, what does that mean? Example number one, here it gets down to it. Jesus is invisible. And I have a shirt that says that. Jesus made it, that shirt, by using my hand and writing with paint. Jesus is invisible. As a reminder of the fundamental thing that I'm having to deal with in learning to love and believe in Jesus. All right, that's in the title. But example number one, Jesus is invisible. Hence, oh, remember, remember, Eyring. So Elder Eyring gave a talk, says, oh, remember, remember. Well, underlying that, his talk, remember Jesus, why would we have to remember him? We can see him all around. We can't, right? It's like, oh, did he mention that in the talk? No. He talked about seeing the hand of the Lord in his life, and he had to go to the extent of writing in a journal the series of beautiful Jesus coincidences that he saw during each day. that indicate to him, leading him to believe that was Jesus. That was Heavenly Father, Holy Ghost doing something in my life. And he would write those down for himself, I think, but he emphasized for his family so they can see, oh, that's the pattern. He's in our lives, and they could see the similar pattern. And that's what they do throughout the whole scriptures. What oftentimes is left unsaid, he who must not be named, why is it that we're having to emphasize that he's there, that his hand is in our lives? Because he's invisible, people. Like, oh, somebody ought to say that, Jesus. It's like the opposition in all things. And the one thing you're saying, oh, remember, he's there. But like, why do we need to remember? Because he's invisible. And so that's what God has emphasized to my heart. Well, that's kind of like a meta thing um, in some respects because it's not addressed yet. And we get into Zion, they'll probably do a lot of yin and yang. Nowadays, they just kind of do the yang. Let's stay with the light, not the absence. Let's not emphasize the absence. I need to have the absence emphasized because I want the obvious to be inescapable to me. Like, okay, so why are we doing all this work? Because he's invisible. Oh, that's right. It's hard to believe in him if I don't sing all these songs. Yeah, it's hard to think he's comforting me if I don't sing the songs and recognize, okay, you're here, Jesus. Jesus is my friend. What a friend we have in Jesus. What are you doing, Greg? I'm uh, exercising against the oppositional force of what? I don't know. Is Jesus really here? Is he my friend? What friend would let me hurt like this? Jesus would. Oh, I better study some scriptures and see if he's done this for other people, where he would let my feet hurt or let others disparage me. What kind of friend is that? Yeah, there you go. That's your imaginary friend who's invisible. Yes. Who's real? Yes, he is. But nonetheless. So that's kind of like backstage. Like, I'd love it. Conference is coming up, April conference this weekend, 2024. And my heart be like, if somebody that the first talk is, my talk is titled Jesus is Invisible. Did you notice? And then they would talk about the necessity of doing what they do. You're going to hear us say, I know Christ lives. We're all like, yeah, we know Christ lives. Why are you saying that? It's like that's primary stuff. Well, people, he's invisible. Of course, we're going to need to emphasize that. It's self reinforcement. He's invisible. We're going to have to do some stuff here. And I love what President Nelson says in the next movie, all right, about rigorous. Oh, I didn't finish the whole title here. Jesus World, Fundamental Physics Approximation. Example number one, Jesus is invisible. Hence, oh, remember, Eyring, what we are, oh, then they go slash, what we are up against trying to believe in and love Jesus more. And I like that last part. And that's why Jesus added it to the title, I believe, because he liked it. Greg, you know what you're up against? Can you get clear? What you are up against trying to believe in me and love me, Jesus, more? You're invisible? Yeah, that's huge, Jesus. That's a huge thing to overcome. Okay? That's like, because you don't look like you're here. You got to feel, use the force, Greg. Oh, you are here. You're on Jesus TV. You're having me do this. You believe, don't you, Greg? Oh, I'm working on it. You're making it harder. There's nobody watching me. Where's my mega church so I can be reinforced? Like, oh, obviously Jesus is with me. The money's pouring in. I got lots and lots of people watching. I feel like I'm just in a closet, Jesus. Uh, some desperate heart Christian just trying to believe in you. Yeah. But what about the spirits in prison? Oh, yeah, that's true. Thank you. Yeah, there's lots, millions out there, I believe. Can you see them? No, with my feelings, yeah, I can claim that. Yeah. Yeah. Part 11. So this is there's three examples of this. Jesus World Fundamental Physics Approximation, example 2. Jesus is hard to hear. Got a shirt Jesus made. Yeah. Where's that? That's up there, I think. It says, Jesus is hard to hear. Listen up. And it has up right here. Listen up, like God. Listen to God. Jesus is hard to hear. Hence, President Nelson's hashtag Hear Him campaign. Remember that campaign? I haven't forgot that campaign at all. Hashtag Hear Him. Then they ask all these different people, how do you hear him? How do you hear him? General authorities usually. I'm just waiting for them to ask me, how do you hear him? Because I thought, well, let's see, most of the base has been covered. That's how I hear him. But you know how I also hear him? In classic rock songs. And I hear him even more in songs that have more Jesus, classic rock songs that Jesus has put into the classic rock song, changing the lyrics and so forth, whatever Jesus does. And I got 173 that I've downloaded from Jesus. That's how I hashtag hear him. Let me sing you a couple. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. Good. Oh, it's gonna happen with the spirits in prison. Yeah, they're already familiar with these. Oh, what else did President Nelson? Because there's a plus sign right here. Hence President Nelson's hashtag Hear Him campaign. Plus, it is very, and quote, I love that President Nelson or Jesus said this, it is mentally rigorous. Oh, yeah. To strive to look unto him, Jesus, in every thought. Let's say that again. Quote, it is mentally rigorous to strive to look unto him in every thought. End quote. So there it is. He put it right there front stage. And he just left out the part. Jesus is hard to hear. Is that what you need to hear, Greg? Because I think a lot of people, when they hear President Nelson say it's mentally rigorous to strive to look unto God in every thought, I think that's what's implied. Bingo. I need you to say the oppositional force. I need you. I need it. And Jesus goes, done. Done right there on Jesus TV. I'm hard to hear, Greg. Yes. So listen up. And then slash what we were up against trying to believe in and love Jesus more. So that, like that last phrase right there, points to something that's kind of like metas, like backstage. Like, hey, don't be saying that in your testimony meeting. Hey, you know what we're up against, people? We're up against Jesus is invisible, he's hard to hear. And the next one, there we go. Jesus World Fundamental Physics Approximation, example 3. Jesus barely saves. Got a shirt that says Jesus barely saves. Beautiful shirt. Um, Hence, and I don't have a hence yet for that one. Somebody say something that's related to that. We'll wait for it. So hence question mark, but slash what we're up against trying to believe in and love Jesus more. Well, I know what I'm up against. It's like, woo, I have to make, I don't have to make, Jesus makes a lot of movies to try to explain these things to me. And this is one of them. This is one of them. This is not the easiest thing to get your head around, Jesus. And he knows that. I should say that. Jesus gives me things, a t shirt that says, Jesus gives me things that are really hard to wrap my head around. That's probably a little too long. I like it, though. Um, we'll find a modification, won't we, Jesus? Some briefer way to say that. But yeah, it's what we're up against. Believing in Jesus, especially in a Babylonish, cultish world like we're in. Well, let's zoom back out. What's Valhalla? Valhalla is a place in my mind and my heart. It's an actual place. It's a building that I helped build with Jesus and family. And we pieced it together. like piecing together a house. These pieces are very fundamental: wood and insulation and glue and tar and metal and all kinds of things to build Valhalla. Um, and then that is why Jesus is using Valhalla as a representation for my mind, because it naturally, like, when have you ever put all these little basic units together? Atoms and molecules? Not very often, not intentionally, probably do it all the time, um, unintentionally. Uh, when have you done particle physics, Greg? Intentionally? I don't have a super collider, although I have a super God. Yes, those are not right here. Um, being reminded of these, I need a place, and that place is Valhalla, the place where you're reminded of when you started doing very fundamental building, like you're building a ship. Not after the manner which is learned by men nor of men, but after the manner which God did show unto you. Thank you, Jesus. And to the spirits in prison. So, Valhalla is this set aside place for when Jesus sends me revelation and knowing where I need to put that. And that revelation then goes into a movie. And the particular revelation, like what I've just shared today, becomes a part of that movie. And what's the whole movie called again? Well, it's called Backstage: Fundamental Concepts, Principles, Practices of Jesus World Building. The movie. How many parts does this movie have? I don't know. We haven't declared that, have we, Jesus? I think it's going to have a lot, but we'll just leave that to Jesus. What we just shot today um, is to gather principles that point my mind, especially my sociological mind, towards similar concepts that would help me understand the nature of this Valhalla based movie, this venue, Valhalla, and the movies that would go there. But also, yeah, that's it. Um, front stage, backstage, off stage um, is what we reviewed. Valhalla is the place for me to watch Jesus's most meta movies in my Jesus Greg world. So I think that's what this movie is about, is lodging that in my mind and heart, that I have a place. There's a place for that. Revelation. Oh, I've got a revelation. It looks very meta. Do you know where it goes, Greg? I think I do. And then you go put it in Valhalla in this movie, and you watch it on the big screen. Big screen in Valhalla. We'll put up a big screen in the hall because we have the place called the hall, and it's huge. Let's put that there, and I'll just sit on the couch and watch this movie and other movies. At least I will in my imagination. And someday maybe I'll do it using virtual AI thing, and I'll watch what I'm watching here. And I'll say, AI, can you improve me? AI, like, nah, I don't think there's enough to work with there. Jesus, can you? And he says, oh, yeah. Oh, I know how to do that because I'm infinite intelligence, Greg. I'm not artificial. Hallelujah, Jesus. All right. Well, thank you for joining us on Jesus TV. Um, this is a movie that, um, yeah, has helped cement in my mind um, what we're up against. That's one of the things. I'm looking forward to making those three movies. Once I get the title out there, I do know kind of how to improv those. I have enough familiarity with Jesus's help, of course, and so he'll have me do that when he wants. But this was a good first one. Could Yeah, this was a good first one to nail down. Gives context to those. Um, so I'm still so fundamental is identifying the concept of fundamental, the concept of meta, the concept of backstage within a religious frame. And so this is, and what does that mean? My relationship with Jesus Christ and yours is significantly impacted by some of these meta conditions we find our lives in. And for most people, it's not necessary to bring that up out of the swamp or whatever and look at it. But it is for the architects, engineers, and designers of early Zion, in particular, those who are building virtual and physical Jesus worlds in a witting, intentional, explicit way, as Jesus has called me and a few others to do. Many others will be called to this, and yeah, it'll be a rising thing. That is, yeah. And so something like this won't be of interest to most of those people building worlds. They're just like, nah, just give me the keys. I'm not interested in the meta thing. Just let's start the show. And I like that. But there are those of us who are called backstage, like, well, let's put up some lights first, and let's put a screen here, and let's put some X's on the floor, and write some scripts so people know their new talkie talk, what they're supposed to say in early Zion, and then later in eventual Zion, and what their mission is, what their goals are, um, what their little part. We all have little parts. I have a little part. Yeah. So interesting calling, and that's why Jesus makes these movies, so that I will understand that calling, because apparently he needs me to understand at that level, at the meta level. Not everybody needs to be a reviewer of the reviewers or the reviewers of the reviewers of the reviewers. No, very few people need to do that. But apparently, there's people who are called to such callings, and it's apparent to me that I am. I'm called by my desire. Like, you desire this, Greg? Yeah. Where'd that desire come from? Him. It's a gift. It's a curse. Both. That's for sure, Jesus. Gift and a curse. Hallelujah. I take it, and I'm thankful for it. You called me to it. I'll do it, Jesus. I'll go where you want me to go, dear Lord. I'll be what you want me to be. And I'll be on Jesus TV. Pretty nice. Thank you, Lord.